Welcome back to Bull Sessions here on 680 KFEQ. You can email your questions or comments to bull@willcross.net. Once again, here's Randy Baker and agronomist Brad Law.
Here we are back to Bull Sessions on 680 KFEQ with Bradley and his list.
Yes, and there was some business you need to take about.
I do. We've got Doug Galloway coming up. He's going to be our guest today.
Yes.
He's, how do you say this, rheumatologist from the University
of Arkansas. And he's got some cattle of his own. He's some cattle he's taking care of on some pasture they've got. He lives there in northwest Arkansas. And then they've got the ranch is in southeast Oklahoma, about 90 miles south of Tulsa, where they, they have hot summer, spotty rainfall, and usually 4 to 8 weeks in the summer without any usable rain. So he's going to talk to us about some rotational grazing. And
you'd have to down there, wouldn't you?
Well, we like cattle. We're a grain company or seed company, but
we love cattle.
We like our cattle guys.
Yeah, we do.
So I think that stuff's interesting, and we're gonna talk about it. And then you've got to focus on the farmer.
Focus on the farmer, and it's another farm family.
Farm family.
Cosby, Missouri. That's all I'm going to say.
That is a metropolis down there.
It is.
Okay.
Big metropolis.
Maybe I'm a cattle guy down there at Cosby. Oh, okay.
He's got cows, too.
He's got cattle.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
okay.
I was in the middle.
Dr. Zeus.
Seuss. And I was showing some places, the places you will go and the sites you will see. And you cut me off in the middle of my story.
Well, we had to go to a commercial, Bradley.
Okay. Well, one summer that I bought that country mega ticket and I went to all the country shows and sat on the lawn.
Yes.
And I told you how you had to get there early to get a good seat, and you saw the people getting prehydrated before they went in.
Inebriated, did you say?
I think that was your word.
Oh.
So that they were, they wouldn't get heat stroke when they went in.
Yeah.
And then when the night was over, you could sit on the back of the tailgate of your pickup and watch the people try to find their trucks, which I found rather interesting to do.
I bet you did.
And then you didn't have to fight traffic. You got to watch another show, and then the traffic cleared out, and then you could leave, and you'd get out of there just as quick as if you tried to fight the traffic.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking overpriced Pepsi.
Okay, yeah. I knew you would be.
Okay. So I'm sitting here on the back of the pickup, and this group, and there was a couple of the girls, and one of them fell down, and her group kept on walking because we were talking about how, your gang will fly on and you'll be left in a lurch.
Okay.
Well, her group went on and walked off.
Left her.
They were looking for the truck.
Floundering.
And this other old boy that started being inebriated at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had boots and hat and everything, and he goes over to her and he looks at her and goes, "You better get up. You gonna get chiggers." And I thought that was
good advice. Good
advice there. And so her friends see that and they go, "Come on, get up!" And he hollers back for her. "She says she can't. You bring the truck to her."
Oh boy.
You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. That guy was a strange bird, but it made a good story. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Well, you ever decide on where you're going to go eat?
Oh, yeah. There's always that dilemma at times. We're spoiled in this country.
Well, my wife pulled in a place, and and we were going to go eat, and we hadn't ate there in a while. We pulled in, and the sign said, the building next to it, the signs on a chain link fence said, "Asbestos removal in process."
Okay.
Does that make you want to eat at the restaurant next to it?
I don't know.
We
Probably
just
not.
We zipped around and went to somewhere else. And one time we were, several years ago, the place is now closed down, and you'll understand why. But we went and picked up some food when we were going to go see the grandparents, and some of the younger ones got pizza, and the others got stuff from the cafe, and we picked up their food, and the lady washing dishes had a cigarette and was smoking it while she washed dishes, which I thought was gross, but then noticed that the ashes were being dropped in the dishwater.
Okay. My kind of woman.
So just never forget to be dexterous in draft and never mix up your right foot with your left. And you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed.
All right.
Oh, the places you will go, Randy Baker.
Yes.
So no matter where you go or what you will see, we wish you the best in 2017.
Awesome, Bradley. Very good. We do wish a Happy New Year. Wasn't that good, Miles?
So
I like it.
the wife helped me on that last part. So
Well, good. You've done a very good job.
but thanks to Dr. Seuss and reading stories at bedtime to your little kids.
Sure. Sky's the limit.
We've got us a guest.
We do. And he's from Arkansas.
Arkansas, got cattle in southeast Oklahoma. The ranch is 400 acres with 140 acres of open land. They do some custom grazing of red and black Angus cows with a red Angus bull. And the calves are marketed as short yearlings. And he's going to talk to us about his experience with some rotational grazing and just neat stuff that's a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. And we kind of like to highlight that stuff here on Bull Sessions.
And he's from Arkansas. We're, traveling out a little bit with our guests.
We've had somebody from Nebraska. We've had somebody from Indiana. We've had a Kansan. And we've Missourians. And now we're getting a
Arkansas Razorback.
All right.
Well, let's get him on.
Doug, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Hi, Doug. How are you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good.
All right.
Doing a lot better than the Razorbacks did, last month. So that was kind of pitiful, and probably one reason I'd rather spend my Saturdays at the ranch than I would watching college football. So.
Well,
at times you're better off.
I talked how cattle could save marriages a while back on one of my lists. You can always say, I'd have to help you, babe, but, we got to go check them cows. So, Yeah. But
well, that's the nice thing about cows. They don't gripe usually as much as a woman does. And when you do feed them, they do get quiet. So.
Oh, hey, we're going to talk about the rotational grazing, and I was going to ask you, why did you decide to set up a rotational grazing system?
Well, that kind of goes back to 2011. I don't know what kind of drought you guys had up there, but, we had a pretty wicked drought down here. And during the month of July and August, we had an inch of rain each month, but it was 105 to 120 degrees, so that rain it didn't last. And so that was a big awakening to us that the continuous grazing that we were doing, it just wasn't working. And my dad had ran continuous for 30 years on this ranch, and then when he passed, my cousin leased the place, and he ran continuous as well. And at that time, I was more into wildlife management than anything. Just kind of enjoying myself, enjoying the outdoors, and I didn't really pay much attention to the grazing other than I set up a monthly rotation on about 3 paddocks with the tenant cattle. And so that's more like continuous, but, it was better than nothing.
How big's a paddock?
So kind of what I've seen is after a couple of decades of continuous grazing, your forages lose their resilience to stress because you don't have deep roots to access your subsoil moisture. And then you have no drought tolerance when it gets abnormally dry. So those, hard drought is probably going to hurt you pretty bad, but let's hope that in this environment, that 4 to 8 weeks without rain, you should be able to stockpile enough forage to get through that, or at least continue growing forage on your subsoil moisture for several weeks into those dry spells. And that's what we're doing now. And so back there to 2011, we culled this herd back, and we ran out of pasture in about August of that year. And I drove up there one day, and he'd started to put out the first bale of hay. And I told him, I said, I've got 200 acres back here. It's timbered rangeland. It's been stockpiled for a year and a half, and, kind of for the wildlife. I said, why don't we put the cows back there? And sure enough, we did that, and we made that, through the rest of the drought and without having to feed hay. And then we caught a little rain in September, and then we caught a real good rain about the 20th of October, and that turned us around out of the drought. And everything started to green up, and the areas that really turned green were where we'd applied broiler litter for a couple years as fertilizer. And if it was outside where those spreader trucks went, it was still brown. So,
Doug, I want to interrupt you a minute. On you said your paddocks. How big are those?
Go ahead.
How big are your paddocks?
Right now, they're ranging size from about 8 acres to 15.
Each one, okay. You got what water system in there that how you?
Well, we use surface water for stock water, so that's mainly ponds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a pretty good sized creek in there, and so last year I put in 3 new ponds because there's some areas I wasn't getting the grazing distribution even like I wanted. Because under the way I like to do grazing, when I come through, I want everything to be grazed pretty uniform.
Sure.
And then move on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wasn't happening. So I put in 3 new ponds this year to help with that. So that gives us a total of 8 ponds, and we've got the major tributary. And if we get runoff, which we have not had runoff since the 1st of July this year, or the 1st of July of last year, we'll be able to use that. But like I said, we had no runoff. The soils are holding all that water. So, and then something I do a little bit different than a lot of people on ponds. Like during the growing season, I'll run a circular, just single strand hot wire in a circle around the pond. And then I'll take and pull a few posts and move that over a corner of a pond or along a bank, and just give them limited access to water.
All right.
I got to hold you up a minute, Doug. We're going to take a little commercial break here for a minute, and hang with us. We'll be back here in a minute. I think Bradley's done with these lists. So we'll be back here with Doug and more Bull Sessions when we return to 680 KFEQ.